Tell me a little bit about how these trips got started.
Well, when I first came to Northwestern, I was looking to involve my students in some international work. And there was a front page article in the New York Times about prison overcrowding in Malawi. And there was a photograph above the fold in color of men who were literally stacked like firewood, which was a depiction of how they slept in their cells. They sleep head to toe, facing in the same direction because there's not enough room for them to sleep on their backs or their sides or sprawled out. And at some point in the night, somebody gives a signal and everybody turns over at the same time. As it turned out, the director of Northwestern's Bluhm Legal Clinic, Tom Garrity, had a friend and a colleague who worked in Malawi and who had actually formed an organization to try to address this problem, which was the Paralegal Advisory Service.
And with each trip that you make, what are some of the lessons that you learn? I mean, what are some things that you personally learn?
Well, the first thing is how important it is to respect the local culture and to work with local partners, and to develop good skills of tolerance and patience, because nothing really works the way that you think it should. You see somebody who's suffering and who's incarcerated, and you believe that they've suffered an injustice, and you want to help them, and you think you see kind of a clear path to how you can do that, and nothing is actually very straightforward, and there are lots of different individuals and institutions that have a stake in these cases, and it's really important to build relationships with each of them and not to be seen as these, this Western organization that's just coming in and trying to impose a foreign way of doing things on a country that's independent and democratic and has its own way of doing things, however inefficient they may be.
And then for your law students, I mean, why is it important for them to get that international perspective?
Well, for one thing, law students traditionally have been taught the theory of law without necessarily being taught the practice of law. And in the International Human Rights Clinic, the focus is on international law and the relevance of international law to the fate of individuals. For the students, and particularly in an increasingly globalized world, it's important for them to understand how the law is applied in a foreign country, what are the sources of law, and what kind of legal hurdles do people face when they get into trouble. And to have an understanding of how privileged we are here, and the fact that people generally do get lawyers, even though they're not always great lawyers. Usually a lawyer will come and be assigned to represent an indigent person who is facing criminal charges. Whereas, in Malawi, there's only 7 public defenders for the whole country. And people sit in prison for years and years and years, and they never get to speak to a lawyer at all. And there are no resources for investigation and for forensic experts, and none of the procedural safeguards that we kind of take for granted that at least try to ensure that innocent people aren't wrongly convicted.
No, in terms of, you said using their skills to help a situation, how are some ways that they have done that?
What they do is, just practically, is when we go there, first of all, they go interview prisoners. We've probably, over the course of the last 4 years, we've probably interviewed over 300 people, maybe 350, maybe even closer to 400 people. And these are individuals who've never before spoken to a lawyer. They've never told anybody about what happened to them. But it goes further than that, because then what they do is they take the information that they learn from those interviews, they write it up into memos, and they provide that information to legal aid lawyers who are representing these people to try to assist in their defense. we, over the years, have gotten about 25 people out of prison.